My name's Elaine Chadwick and I'm from the Learning is Fun project, working with West Cheshire College and the National Waterways Museum, and it's the boat museum at Ellesmere Port that we're working at.
And could you tell me a bit about your project?
Yeah, we started discussions with the boat museum, the College of Boat Museum started discussions probably the middle of the year, and we were looking at ways we could work together to develop learning within the boat museum itself. But we didn't really have any particular ideas of how to do it, and we were just having general discussions and conversations around it. Then we saw this funding, and we decided that we'd apply for it. So myself and Joanne Darlington, who's the fundraiser for the Waterways, we sat down and discussed, and we together put the application in, and we were successful. We then immediately, within 2 days, we had project managers appointed. We ran taster days for the people of Ellesmere Port. We leafleted out and we went out to talk to local community organisations. We contacted the Big Lottery, we contacted the Quaker Tapestry organisations, local history museums. And for the taster day, we got 247 people into the museum, and they tried a whole range of activities. And these activities were provided by the volunteers. Within the museum there's a volunteer organisation, and there's about 30 volunteers, and they have a whole range of skills. And we were generally expecting sort of 30 to 40 people, and we're not expecting 240 people. But the volunteers coped brilliantly well, and we captured all the information from the people who came, the potential learners to the taster day, and we identified what kind of training they would be interested in, what sort of learning they'd like to do. And we arranged to put the learning on for them, and we've engaged with them. And lots of really good things have come out of that. We had one very nervous crochet teacher, and she was absolutely terrified, and we told her there'd be about 2 or 3 people, and she had 30 people on the taster day, so she was frightened. But she put a crochet class on for us, and when the class finished, the class didn't want to finish. And so they're now doing crochet and coffee I think once a fortnight they meet at the museum. And what they're doing is they're crocheting things for the boats. As the boats are being restored by some of the project is restoring some of the boats, the internal areas like the curtains and all that kind of thing are being done by the students and the crochet volunteers. And then they're doing things like castles. Roses and castles, and that's painting on the outside of the boats. It's very traditional. And we're getting in a storyteller who's he's a gypsy who lived and works on the boats, and he's coming in, he's going to do a story day for us, for everybody. Anybody who wants to come along can come to that. And we're working with the Big Lottery on that one, so that we couldn't afford it because of the project, but Big Lottery have got money and they're paying for that, so we're pooling our resources. We're also working with the Quaker Tapestry project, and the aim of the project is to have a range of panels for a tapestry about life and history of Ellesmere Port, and our project and the Boat Museum is going to be a panel in that tapestry.
That's fantastic. And any lessons learned at all? Anything you do differently, or?
I think we started off quite well. Originally we thought we would have one project manager, and within about 48 hours of having the approval and rereading our project, we realised we would need 2 project managers, or rather a split role. One person to go out and engage with the community and spend a lot of time out in the community, and one to be based at the museum and working with the volunteers. We have had, I wouldn't say major issues, but we've had things like the volunteers were a little bit reluctant to become involved, and so we had some coaxing to, I think, part of fear, part of territorialism. There was a little bit around that, and we had a problem that we thought that the second year foundation students would be able to do the YouTube clips for the heritage skills and do the oral history for us as part of their foundation degree. We found out afterwards, after they'd been on the project for about 8 weeks, that it wasn't suitable and it wasn't sufficient for what they would need for a second year degree. But we found that the first year students, it was okay for them. So perhaps a little bit more research before we started, and And then the second year students have had a lot of the first year students, sorry, have had a lot of catching up to do, because the project's only 6 months and they lost 2 months while we were talking to the other students. But I think it helps that there is somebody who's very experienced with projects, involved in the project, and I think that experience matters and counts for a lot.
Fantastic.